Good morning. I'm Peter Sprano. I'm your instructor for English 241 American Literature. Welcome to our literature class for the summer. As I stated in the course outline, I see our main goal as being able to situate the literature within the time and culture in which it was written. Therefore, we won't be reading the writings of the explorers simply to see what they said, but we will be examining what the explorers believed about themselves and how they perceived the world based on what they wrote, or what they wrote about the world. I refer to some of this in the first document within the Explorers module in Blackboard, so you should read that right away. But to really understand the mindset of the explorers, you need to understand a bit about the history of Western culture, particularly as it relates to the development of Western Christian church. While from a religious standpoint, the most important date in Christianity is probably Easter, the day Christ rose from the grave. From the perspective of Western culture, the most important date is 312 ADE, which is the date when, when Constantine, who was emperor of the Roman Empire at the time, declared himself to be Christian. In that one moment, the religious, military, and social and cultural orders of the empire came together. For the first time, to be a citizen of Rome was synonymous with being a Christian, and vice versa. Therefore, all actions of the state were considered to be actions of God on earth, and those whose actions supported the empire or the state were acting out the will of God, and therefore could not be wrong. Think about what that meant. No matter what you did, regardless of how unscrupulous or immoral, you could justify your actions as being the will of God. This became the basis of what we know today as imperialism or nation building, where one country not only defeats another country, but intentionally destroys its culture and society, believing that it is inferior and not of God, and replaces that culture with its own, which it believes to is not only superior, but is divinely ordained. And this was the basis, of course, of the Crusades of the Middle Ages. Think about this as you read this week's readings. Think about how the language of the writers conveys a sense of entitlement to do whatever the conqueror wishes. Consider how the words communicate self-importance and self-righteousness and superiority. In the last 50 years, some have said that this kind of interpretation of the writings of earlier times is a rewriting of our own history, but that perspective implies that there is only one history and that history is ours. But what if you are a descendant of one of the nations that Christopher Columbus conquered when he arrived? Well, actually, you can't be, because they were all killed, which is kind of the point. Consider that as you read the writings of the explorers this week, and I'll look forward to reading your comments.